Alright, so today we're trying a new mouthpiece for the new year. This is the Momo Mouthpiece 52DW Star, an atelier in Japan. Previously, I've tried out their 52E Star, which is their euphonium mouthpiece, but this is my first time trying one of their actual tenor trombone lines. I liked the 52E when I tried it, but it wasn't something I was going to use full time. And then when I've tried this, this is a contender for like a full-time mouthpiece. There are some differences between the models. You can see the shape of the outer, slightly different. Like this looks more like traditional trombone mouthpiece. This one kind of comes in a little bit, almost looks like it's a V-shaped cup even though it isn't. And I think that this heavy blank from Momo is much more appropriate to trombone playing. It feels like a couple of grams heavier also, and it distributes the air in a slightly different way. So now you've heard the beginning of the Grondahl on their trombone mouthpiece. Let's try out a couple of bars on the euphonium mouthpiece so we can kind of listen back for a direct comparison. So the first thing I noticed directly off the bat comparing the kind of euphonium mouthpiece with the trombone mouthpiece is that the euphonium mouthpiece doesn't want to go as dynamically wide, which I think supports the fact that euphonium playing isn't as dynamically varied as trombone playing is. It's just the nature of the instrument. The throat being so wide on the euphonium means that the soft range is a little bit harder. So I think that this kind of supports that type of euphonium playing. But I really like the fact that I can get as quiet and loud on this. And it feels like I have room to really get quiet there, whereas I don't have quite as much on this. Like it feels like it just wants to go to a little bit of a higher dynamic overall. Very interesting to test these mouthpieces next to each other. My normal mouthpiece, Li Brass 550E, let's hear the beginning of Grondahl as a comparison so we can kind of see what we're working towards them against. Again, comparing these next to each other, it's very interesting. We're going to go through some different exercises to kind of hear what they might be like in different contexts in a minute. And finally, one more mouthpiece I've been playing around with. This is the Laskey-Alessi 60s symphonic model. Very classic Greg Black looking design, though it's made by Laskey now. And so slightly different alloy than Greg Black will use. But let's see how that sounds on the same Grondahl. So interestingly, that was the first time I felt like I had any real difficulty centering in the decrescendo. But the sound is very dark, very nice, very rich, very classic American orchestral sound. All right, so now we've got these mouthpieces to kind of test out and try in a couple different things. I like to play in some extreme registers, as anybody that's watched these videos know before. So let's see what this is like using the Momo tenor trombone mouthpiece first, kind of going up to like super F. interesting. I felt like a different pressure on my gums than I'm used to, and it didn't seem like it wanted to connect quite as seamlessly as I normally feel. Let's try the 52E. Funnily enough, it maybe felt a little bit smoother, but I don't know that it was the exact sound I was looking for, and that the Super F still felt a little bit more tricky than I'm used to. Alright, let's try my normal mouthpiece, the LI Brass. Alright, that's getting a little bit closer to what I'm used to. It could just be that because that's my primary mouthpiece, that's the one that I'm used to playing on the most, and that gives me the most amount of comfort. Finally, let's see how the Laskey-Alessi 60 synth model feels in that same register. Funny enough, going up to the first high F, this felt maybe the easiest, but going up to the second one, it just didn't want to go there, which, isn't really, you won't really find that in most contexts. So whether or not, that shouldn't be a deal breaker for if you want to try these mouthpieces out or not. Now, what I've noticed about this 52DW from Momo is it feels really good on orchestral style articulations. Like if I do Gazza Ladra, that's one place where I feel like there's a lot of strength in this mouthpiece. It feels very crisp, very clean. If I do the same thing on my Long Island brass mouthpiece, I feel like I need a little bit of effort to keep that kind of like rapid fire machine gun style articulation going. Like it feels like it's maybe a hair of a second behind on occasion. And when I use the Laskey 60 symphonic, let's see what happens. This feels like the best of both worlds in a way, the Laskey-Alessi. But I think if I was playing Principal and I wanted some really crisp articulations, that this Momo mouthpiece might be the way to go. Speaking of Principal, let's hear like some Bolero on this mouthpiece and see how that feels compared with the other times I've recorded that. Really interesting mouthpiece to play on. I'm not sure that I've recorded Bolero on the Laskey 60 Symphonic, so let's hear what that's like side by side. fascinating to do them side by side. What I feel on the Momo mouthpiece specifically is that the partials are a little closer together. The slotting's a little closer. I know I have this one exercise that I work on, and it helps me do some of the virtuosic stuff that I have to do in new music and solo playing on my Long Island brass mouthpiece. This exercise in particular, that's kind of well, taken from a John Randazzo exercise and then kind of modified a little bit. So the idea is that I'm going through the partials, D, B flat, F, B flat, and I'm doing them slurred, articulated, and double-tongued to try to get to see like if that virtuosic flexibility is in shape for the day. When I try that same exercise on the Momo 52, let's see what happens. What I notice is that that second partial going down, the B flat from the top D, it wants to center higher than I'm used to. So I'm used to playing it kind of there, and you can hear it gets a little fuzzy, a little airy. But if I play it a little like up, so that partial feels a lot closer together and correspondingly makes the other partials seem further apart. So that would take some getting used to. Let's see what it's like on the articulations. Yeah, if I consciously aim a little bit higher on the second note, it works pretty well than what I'm used to. On the Long Island brass mouthpiece, they feel almost a little bit more equalized rather than such a big jump from the minor third to the fourth, from the major third to the fourth. Let's try the same exercise on the Laskey-Alessi mouthpiece. Yeah, it's just a nice fat round sound. It could be that that's what I'm used to. But as an interesting comparison, let's go back to the Momo euphonium mouthpiece, the 52E, and see if I have some of the same feelings that I do on the 52DW. So the partials feel a little bit wider on the 52E than they do on the 52D, but the sound feels like it doesn't center as fast. It feels like I lose maybe a little bit of the middle notes. Alright, so we've done some high playing, we've done some loud and soft playing, but I'd like to also try this out one more time on Saint Sound 3. I'm really curious what that's going to feel like there. You know, I have to be honest, that felt pretty nice. Feels good on that. Let's try it on the 52E. The sound felt maybe 10% richer, but it also felt a little bit less stable. Let's try it again on my Long Island Brass 550E. feeling there is that this has the most possibilities for timbre and for articulation, but that's a little bit double-edged when it comes to excerpts. Sometimes you want to sound the same way every time, but I feel like that could have a very individualized performance from setting to setting. And in the interest of completeness, let's try the Laskey-Alessi 60. Neat. So the Laskey-Alessi feels like it rewards slower, warmer air the most. But the Momo, I feel, let me try it one more time. See, it's really fascinating going straight from the Laskey-Alessi to the Momo mouthpiece, because the Momo mouthpiece really wants you to be using your air in a much more direct through method than like a wider, warmer method. Yeah, it feels like this Momo mouthpiece is a lot more projection, and it might be suited to some like really exciting, like classically articulation-based material. Like this feels like it might be a great mouthpiece for Saint-Saëns Cavantine in a way. Let's try that. Yeah, it feels very crisp, very clean on that. I try the same thing on my Long Island brass. And I feel like I have a little bit more warmth in the sound, but maybe not as much excitement and projection. And finally, the Laskey-Alessi. Yeah, see? This really wants you to be using your air in a different way. That's why those faster notes didn't quite center. Yeah, you need more strength up front for the Laskey-Alessi, which might make sense because it's about the heaviest, maybe the widest of them. But this really rewards a very nice, like, crisp articulation on a single tongue. Now, one place where I've noticed testing this out that I'm not sure about is when I'm doing my fratre style tonguing, the advanced triple tonguing up and down. I'm having a harder time centering on this. I feel like there's a lot more up and down motion in the jaw to hit those kind of wider partials. I'm used to playing that piece on my Long Island brass, and let's see what that's like. Yeah, so it feels like there's less up and down motion to hit the partials, but at the same time I felt maybe, I have to listen back, but maybe a touch airier. Let's try it on the Laskey-Alessi. Yeah, that just doesn't want to lock in, even though the sound is nice. And for fun, let's try the 52E. Yeah, it felt timbrally inconsistent, especially in the lower notes. They felt like they popped out a little bit too much. So, the Momo 52DW, it's kind of neat in that sound world. That's not so bad. It's a very good mouthpiece, and I'm going to be trying them out against each other for a little bit of time in the future. I think if I was taking a second or a first audition at for a major orchestra or a large orchestra again, the Laskey-Alessi symphonic model might be the way to go. But if I'm taking a principal audition or an operatic audition, this Momo mouthpiece feels very nice. And if I'm playing my own solo and chamber career, I really like the timbral flexibility that this Long Island brass mouthpiece gives to me. So it's going to be really interesting compare and contrast. I can't wait to try them out in some ensembles and see what happens. But I'm really glad I picked up this mouthpiece, thanks to soon-to-be or currently Dr. Michael Stanton in Florida for sending it my way. It's a really great mouthpiece, a really unique manufacturer, and I've been happy to find out more about them. All right, thanks for watching. Happy New Year.